Thank you so much for watching. Darren Barnett, my brother from another mother, a term noticed by my mother, which I appreciate, is here, of course, in the man cave. Ross Cadell, National Senator for New South Wales, he joins us now as well. All right, lads, let's get straight to it. Am I being a sook here about Anthony Albanese getting awfully political while overseas on the taxpayer teat, Darren?
I don't think it's unreasonable that he would go to that event. What I have a problem with is that he had such a lot to say about it.
Hallelujah.
When Morrison was PM.
100%.
That you're judged against your own words and your own history, and he had a lot to say 6 years ago about a campaign event in Ohio. He probably should have erred on the side of caution.
Yeah, I mean, again, Ross, we get it, all right? So the Prime Minister, fresh from an election, those first 3 years where, people like me were so mean about overseas travel that he couldn't go anywhere. Remember those years and years he never went to the UN, and years he'd send an underling everywhere else? Well, the big F you to everyone who didn't vote for him is, watch this, 11 days. We're off to the UN. We're off to number 10. We'll sit around with other left-wing prime ministers. But this is the extra little bit of FU that I think may be noticed outside of the bubble of those who didn't vote for him. What do you think?
I think winners write history. He was a very big winner. I look in the chamber with a tear in my eye still, and this is a bit of hubris creeping into him, and we think that's a weak spot on this guy. But I go back to exactly what Darren says. If your values are tradable under pressure, then they aren't values, they're hobbies. If you're going to have a go at someone for how they act, don't do the same themselves. But this is creeping right across government. We're sitting there, I'm met tomorrow to be in of all things, a Senate committee on our cultural policy, but two of the cornerstone witnesses, Creative Australia and the Arts Department, they're off in Barcelona. There's no one there. The whole thing might go up in hell because no one's going to show up. We've got to change the thing. Everyone is on travel. Follow the example of the leader, get overseas, have a great time, do what you've got to do, but don't show up for what you're meant to do in Australia. Don't show up to inquiries, don't look at the cultural policy, don't look at this stuff. And you might not know, every politician in our travel allowance, we get 10 days per year to do party political things. That's the allowance we get. I just wonder if going to a Labor Party conference in London and the RAF jet and everything like that comes off his 10 days. That'd be a good way to do it.
Well, look, I certainly hope inside the tactics of the coalition they're not going to burn a few days trying to work that out. But still, the idea of this here, but again, you watch the 6 p.m. news, the way that it was presented, because they've all enjoyed the piss up for the past couple of weeks. They've all been oh so matey. They've got the chance to see the inside of the inside. We're all mates together. Ha ha ha, the elbow beer. This was presented as basically an accusation by the coalition that this was an obvious sort of each-way elbow here. Darren, quickly on this.
Oh, no, look, I just think when momentum is running your way, you can get away with a little bit more than you would otherwise.
Yeah, true.
As someone who worked for Julia Gillard, I don't think we would have got away with that. But he's had such a resounding win that he's got a little bit of capital in the bank.
Now, I do want to talk, though, about this dynamic that was being built in. Now, obviously, the plan was, and let's be honest right now, about, centre-left and further out governments, right? So there were plenty of polls that were showing us, 6 months ago, that the Canadian government was going to fall hard instead. Trudeau out of the way. Trump carries on and produces the result that means the exact opposite happens. We know the effect that happened here in our last election, and despite the pressure that's currently on Keir Starmer, he's got a couple of years to still turn things around. Kind of hope of the side New Zealand at the moment and their Prime Minister. But let's go back to what was unsuccessful for Joe Biden, but has seemingly been somewhat successful for these other centre-left and further out leaders, which is to sort of bang on that to vote for anyone but them is somehow an attack on democracy.
I think that's exactly right. All around the world, we're just seeing more and more guys get out there and say, the other guys, they're rorting elections, they're doing these sorts of things. In an environment that's so hard, and I know Darren is an ex-comms guy, it's becoming harder and harder to get your information to engage voters, people who care. So people are voting for who they like the most. More often than not, they don't really know the policies, they don't understand what's going on. And so if you're the carer, if you're the one that looks after them, you're the fatherly figure, I think we suffered badly on it in the last election. And so it's a run around to hug people and feel good and pretend to be nice when you may not be all that nice behind closed doors. That seems to be what's happening. I think it's just this way. If they're embracing technology, democracy, if they're the good guys, then you paint the other guys to be the bad guys, and it pays off on election day. We saw that here.
Yeah, I think, again, Darren...
I don't think it's ever been thus, to be honest. If you think back to George W. Bush and you were with us or against us, and binary political commentary by those in power is as old as the hills at the moment. They happen to have a few centre-left governments who are saying it.
Yeah, no, correct. I just think, we talk about that, we're very selective about what quality of the political air we wish to breathe, right? About how to lower the tone, up the temperature, all the rest of this, right? These are all tricks, okay? They are all tricks for the people who have the power to keep the power, right? Which is to say that anyone without the power will either ruin the joint because all of their policies are terrible, all the rest of it, right? Or, oh, it's so precious.
But they trade talking points when they cross the chamber after change of government.
Yeah, 100%.
Look at it and go, hang on. We were saying that you would say... It's almost word for word.
Well, yeah, wait till you find...
extraordinary. Budget black holes, that sort of stuff. Like, hang on.
It's like, we've been here before, haven't we? OK, so Tony Burke goes to Sydney Airport. He welcomes a bunch of Palestinian refugees to Australia. Now, Australia accepts refugees from all over the world, OK? I'm not going to play into that little game, the little dog whistle about the right type of and the wrong type of refugee. But the sort of door-to-door service here, Darren, I don't understand.
Oh, I do. Berkey's a PR genius. That's why.
Politics?
100%.
OK, well, good, you're admitting this. Good, this was outrageous a couple of weeks ago to say.
I'm here as a commentator. I'm not here, I'm not a paid-up senator. So, look, what he's done in the same way that by having the citizenship ceremonies before the election, it played really well in his seat and a bunch of other seats in southwest Sydney. This plays well for two reasons. One, it plays to the left, who believe that we should have refugees from Palestine come into Australia, but also the reaction that he's now dug in against from Sarah Henderson in particular. She fell for the trap, and now he gets to pontificate and say, oh, well...
you're you're racist.
You've been picking on Indian community, Chinese community.
Now these poor...
So, look, to Berkey's credit, I think he loves this stuff and he's good at it.
All right. Well, I'm not going to call him Berkey. All right, let's talk about the Northern Territory here, Ross, where for the past couple of months, and I support this because when you can't call the police, and I'm kind of sick of the whole idea that the best reaction to crime is to just make sure there's a camera that films it so we can deal with it later. If you have the ability to protect your person, particularly, I'm going to say, younger women, I'm fine with the pepper spray use, right? However, according to the ABC today, a couple of times it's been used in nightclubs. I'm not entirely sure that that's the idea here, but still, security guards at Darwin nightclub have been confronted with pepper spray 2 weekends in a row. First month of the Northern Territory-wide trial of weapons comes to an end. On Sunday morning, police arrested a 26-year-old woman after she reportedly sprayed another patron with her legally obtained canister outside of the club in Darwin CBD. Two examples, enough to say no more pepper spray, or what do you think about the right to physically defend yourself like this, Senator?
No, I think it's a trial. I think it's got to be given time, and I think it's going well. I phoned up to see, after reading that article, 1,100 people have bought pepper spray from around the Northern Territory. 2 have abused it. They've both been caught, being dealt with the full consequences of the law, as it should be. But if the average age is 47 of these 1,100 people that have bought it, they're feeling safe. It has stopped crime. There's also reports of that. Let it play out. I've been hit by the pepper spray. It wasn't the greatest thing in the history of the world, but I survived it. So if it is out there, if it helps people survive, if it helps them feel safer and it stops crime, you've got to give it a go, because it's better than $13 million worth of machete bins. This actually does something to protect people, and that's what we're about. So I'd let the trial run. I'd like to see, and well done to Leah and the whole team up there for giving something a go.
Yeah, Leah Whanokierra, I think she's a star. She's one of those people who, again, young, centre-right, to me, sort of the great future and representation of that side of politics and its ability to make its way back. We'll all find out together. But again, Darren, the rights of people to be able to defend themselves. Again, this scenario where, I love how this works, right? So, of course, we know that when government wants to stop car accidents, they take every car off the road and tell you all to stay at home and keep 5 metres away, right? But at some point in time, we live with risk, meaning, OK, there will be some car accidents and, yes, horrible things are going to take place.
It's like in Clovis, Sydney, who she's aiming for 0 by having 30 zones.
All right. Well, 0 reasons to drive into her CBD,
Zero.
right?
And have 0 fatalities.
Yeah, good luck. But we have this scenario where, OK, as Ross says, the numbers are, OK, a couple of examples here, right? But they're immediately being pounced upon by those who presumably don't like the idea of people being able to defend themselves at all. It's not a gun, it's pepper spray.
I think the unions have a role to play, and if their members are the ones who 2 weekends in a row, I think one of the canisters was purchased legally, the other illegally, the one by the 16-year-old a week ago. You've got to keep an eye on these things. They're entitled to raise the concerns of their members if they're impacted in the workplace. But I think on balance, I'm with Ross. I'd let the trial continue to run, but keep a nice close eye on it.
All right. Now, I want to talk here about tobacco because, again, the Treasurer giving himself high fives and, as you say, just swap the jerseys, it's the same play, right? But still, oh, we're amazing because the deficit is still a deficit, but it's not as big a deficit as it might well have been. It's still a freaking deficit, right? It's still the credit card bill. It's a little bit like, dare I say, that person who comes and says, well, I had to buy it because it was on sale. So
that's my daughter.
Yeah, I was trying to channel lots of people.
We saved $60, Dad.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, guess how you can save all of the money. Don't buy the freaking thing. But one of the things that has got the government more revenue is tobacco taxes. Now, the single biggest addict to tobacco in Australia, as coming from a tobacco addict, right, 100%, is the federal government, right? So they know they can just up the taxes and there'll be a stupid few of us that will actually pay legally. But what has happened as a result, Ross, is the other side, right? The other side is a huge increase in the number of people that are actually consuming tobacco. They're just consuming the crap you don't pay tax on from China. But the government won't bend, the government won't move, because God forbid you ever admitted you got something wrong.
It's unbelievable. The government has become the marketing arm of organised crime in Australia. This is what we've done on tobacco. We're out there and we've created all these businesses, all these firebombings. There's over 200 now, both on vapes and cigarettes, fake cigarettes. We've created a market where there is a knockoff of the most common illegal brand. They've copied the most illegal brand out there. And it's not working. Our government take is getting lower and lower because I think we're down to about 40% of proper smoke buyers out there. And everyone, you know, the government will come out and ban big tobacco. Big tobacco aren't doing the illegal ones. Big tobacco aren't being in the vapes. It's organised crime, serious organised crime, and we are the ones providing the market and the atmosphere for it. This is Big Al Capone and the ban of alcohol in the US all over again. Everywhere in the world, these things, vapes and tobacco, are legal. You can't put a ban around Australia and say only they come in. It's too easy to get. We have to do this to protect our kids so we know what's coming in. We have to do it to protect our budget so we lower the, or at least hold the tariff so we get rid of these illegals. And there's no enforcement. Cops have got enough to do with DV, with serious crimes, with these things. I've seen kids walk into a tobacco store in front of a police car and walk out with something. This is a joke what's going on, but it's not the police's fault. They don't have the time to do it, so the government has to get serious and take this on.
All right, before we go, I've only got 30 seconds here. Trevor Long, up in a moment or two's time. Darren, you have found a candidate in Germany. We will roll the tape because somebody defaced their poster, and her response is?
Look like the poster.
Yeah, very clever.
Fantastic. I would vote for her even though I can't understand a single word she said.
Well, she's certainly got... Oh, look, I'm imagining what side she's on. She's got the teal in the background. She's dressed like one. She's ready to go. But, yeah, that's the way to respond, right? Basically, take the piss rather than run around and say the sky's falling in and our democracy is coming to an end.